Cool. Well, good to have you all here again. Nice to see some of the regulars coming back. Today is I actually going to be introducing a new topic, which is all very much related to all the other topics that we do talk about, even though it seems that they're not. Um, we spoke last week about my book and about sections in the butterfly effect, and we were going to go on more about that. And it was we got into quite a lot of detail and depth about the nature of reality. So this week is no different. It's more into the nature of reality and the nature of us in this reality. And it's a topic that fascinates me because in my essence as a philosopher, you could say, I'm always just sort of examining the deeper meanings, and also a pragmatist, right? We got to be taking knowledge that is theoretical and implementing them in our lives. So how does that knowledge help us? Otherwise, we become scientists, which is good, but I think only any knowledge that is not beneficial shouldn't really be for me. I mean, for entertainment, yeah, read your novels or read, watch something that is entertaining, but all knowledge has to have a value to it and has to be implemented and has a transformation effect in our lives. Don't you agree? Yeah. Otherwise, you're just reading or studying and researching endlessly, and it's nice, it's entertaining. I do a lot of that. So the law of attraction is something that everybody knows about. And does anybody want to give me a quick, not an explanation, but a simple definition of what is the law of attraction? Does anybody know it in one sentence?
Some people say that you attract what you are.
Okay. But what is the law of attraction? Well,
I've heard that opposites attract as far as physics go. But
okay, so then you're not talking specifically about the law of attraction as a term or as a definition. Has anybody looked into the law of attraction and knows the term?
I have used, I don't know if I can say it in one sentence. I have definitely used and it has worked. But I think we are all capable of attracting what our heart desires. So you can attract something that seems illogical to the mind at that moment. But your heart desires, so it will bypass all of those obstructions and come to you, especially if you are desiring from your heart. And it has worked for me in miraculous ways. I have practiced. Now I used to, when I was younger, I did that unconsciously, but now I do it consciously. So it's faster.
Good. That's excellent, Chaya. That's actually a good broad definition of it. Just to recap what you just said at the end is that we used to do this unconsciously, and now you do it consciously. That's really important. So the law of attraction is simply a name given for something that we naturally do and how the universe naturally works. You're not creating a new law. Like for instance, Newton's law of physics laws in physics, right? Different laws. It's not something that we create. It's something that exists already. So that's very important to know. We're not creating something where we're saying, oh, if I do this, that's going to happen. It's actually just understanding how nature works and how the reality works. And a lot of people, and like Chaya said, when you logically think about it, it doesn't make sense. How can I attract what I like, and how can I attract what I lack? That's the other thing that people forget about the law of attraction, because there's a lot of the positive stuff about it, which is you can manifest in your heart and you can get all the goodies that you want. At the same time, your fears, on the other hand, seem to be manifesting towards you at the same time. So this is very important for us to understand. So in the beginning, what led me to the law of attraction was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm sure many of you heard of that book. It's one of the foundational works and an excellent book on how your thoughts, right, think and grow rich. And it was fascinating. And so that I went on to an entire journey that lasted a very long time, and looking at how the law of attraction works. But then I discovered, and that's what today's call is going to be about. Uh, about of energies by choice. Yeah, you could say that, Ashif. About so after I looked into the teachings of Think and Grow Rich of Napoleon Hill, I found out who his teacher was, or who he learned from. And there was a man named Neville Goddard. Many of you would have heard of Neville Goddard as well. And Neville Goddard then got his knowledge from his guru or mentor named Abdullah, who was a Jewish rabbi. And at that point, a lot of the knowledges then slip away. Yeah, in a way, Alicia, it is that as well, which where your attention goes, energy flows, is what it can be termed that. But I'm just giving you a brief history now about where this all originated. The reason why is because it's fascinating. So before Abdullah, who was a Jewish rabbi, you had the science called Kabbalah, and I'm not sure if you heard of Kabbalah, but Kabbalah is a science also of the letters and the symbols. And around that time you had the knowledges of the Sufis of Andalusia and of the region that was now common modern day Spain, which was studying the power of letters and numbers and talismans and magic and potions and all the rest of it, which was a science called alchemy. Alchemy is the science of transmuting one element into another. In other words, it was to take a base metal and convert it into something like a precious metal. So the whole point was they used to take sulfur and convert it into gold, right? So alchemy was the process of transmutation, transmuting one thing into another thing. And so that knowledge came from, if you go back into it, from an ancient mythical figure. Yeah, you could say that as well, Ronald, about the law of repulsion. Yeah, good. Yeah, what you are and not what you want. Thank you, all of you, for your input. So then, at some point, there's a mythical figure that is referenced by anyone and everyone who to do with the law of attraction. Okay, Ronald, do you want to speak? Do you want to say something?
That was a finger check. I'm sorry, Rashad. Finger
Okay.
check.
So you guys all with me so far as I go back into the history books. So as we go back, because what I want you to understand, this is not grounded. This law of attraction on its own has been Americanized and has been westernized and has been sort of what do you call it? Made it into cosmopolitan type of thing. It's something kind of modernized, and it's not wrong, but you have to understand how grounded this is, so that we know how much more there is to these laws and these principles, rather than what if taken in isolation, which is the law of attraction, which is great, by the way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's so much more comprehensive. There's a wonderful landscape here. So at that point, if we go back to the times, there was this figure that appeared to have had this knowledge, this man that came about, that apparently travels to the heavens and got the secrets of how the universe operates. And this man was known by a few names, and the most famous of them is Hermes Trismegistus. And Hermes Trismegistus was known as 3 times magician. That's what his name means. In the Egyptian text, he's referred to as Thoth. Thoth spelled Thoth. So this man existed and came and was a very holy man and had sciences, had knowledge of the sciences, and he wrote a text, or he compiled a text called the Hermetica. So the Hermetica is this text of ancient text of these knowledges, which is what we're going to discuss. But what was very interesting from a religious context is that in the Christian tradition, he is known as Eunuch, the prophet Eunuch, and in the Muslim tradition, he's known as the prophet Idris. Whose mic is on me? Someone's feedback. Okay. So you guys, it's a lot to. Obviously, I'm giving you the summary of quite a long, extensive research because it fascinated me very much. So either way, these knowledges go back a very long time, over 2,000 years. So it's very important for us to get context of all of these knowledges, just rather than in isolation. So whatever whatever we call a law is simply how we've understood how the universe functions, right? You know what's Murphy's law? Right? Murphy's law: what could go wrong will go wrong. Is that right? What could go wrong will go wrong, or something to that effect. So that again, Murphy, whoever Murphy was an observation. The same with Newton's law on aerodynamics, thermodynamics, right? The third law of whatever it is. These laws are simply something that we become aware of, like the sun rising at a certain time and setting at a certain time. So I'll pause there for a second and ask you if you guys can follow so far, because I've gone through quite a lot. Yes? You with me? Yeah? Okay. So I could take this in quite a few directions and explore each particular thing. And it's fascinating, especially when, yeah, you could say about tuning into a radio station. Yeah, yeah. That's the law of attraction. Now I'm taking it a lot further back. So we passed the law of attraction now. We're looking at all these understandings and the teachings, which has been encapsulated, if you guys have seen the LinkedIn thing, into the 7 principles, Hermetic Principles, which is based on the Hermetica. And the law of attraction is simply one of them, the law of vibration, right? But before we go into the meaty stuff, the practical stuff is what Argun and all of you are talking about. Is how does it actually work, and what's the practical steps around it? Maria, would this be a good time for you to talk about the law of attraction in what you perceive it, or later? What would be a good time? Yeah. Okay. So Maria is our coach, one of our coaches, and I asked her to prepare something in the law of attraction, and I think she has prepared something. So I'm putting her on the spot. Everybody knows Maria by now. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you. Well, first of all, we all make this assumption that the law of attraction means we attract something good. But you said there is also fear. We can attract anyway. We can attract good. We can attract bad. So I want to draw on my personal experience and talk about 2 emotions that I feel they are very important when it comes to law of attraction. One is fear and one is trust. So for me, there was a period that different things happened and I got very scared and more bad things were happening. And at that period of my life, I thought I was unlucky. When you are in that kind of chaos, you say, oh, I'm unlucky. Things are not working my way. So I never thought that I was bringing things to me one way or another. But recently things are better. And also I'm thinking I'm more conscious about life and more aware and all of these things. So I have started thinking about what is happening. And I have noticed that at times that I get scared or worried, I create chaos around me. So I do attract these kind of things. So the law of attraction works there as well. So I made this conscious decision to not be scared and just trust in life, which is really difficult. It's every day I'm trying to do it. But when you trust, you start attracting good things because there is no risk in that. And I'm not saying fear and courage, because when you say courage, it's like you're taking a risk towards something. You said, I will be courageous and do that, but there is a risk. When you say trust, there is no risk. And I had this image in my head.
I like that. That's powerful. Yeah, I love that.
From Indiana Jones, Richard, when there is this scene where they come to the end of a cliff and they know that there is a bridge. They know that. They trust the bridge is there, but they cannot see it. So they make the first step into the void and the bridge appears. So I live life like that now. I make the first step into the void and the bridge appears. It's like that, but it's a conscious decision. So when it comes to law of attraction, it is actually making that decision that you trust, even the things you don't like, you take them as steps towards something good that is going to be the next step. So that's one part of the law of attraction. It works for me. It works in business as well. It has changed the way I'm thinking about things. I also think we have to be specific, like not specific of what we want, but the purpose of what we're going to do with what we want. And I think when the purpose of what we desire, like Chaya said, when it is nearer to our core values, to what our heart says, that's when things manifest quickly. And I was thinking, like these rappers, they make millions, and you say, he's making millions. How am I going to make millions? But it doesn't work like that, because for these people, that it means that that's what they desire, and within their heart, they have kind of aligned the two. So you cannot be jealous of other people. You just have to find your own core values, your own desires, and that's when things start manifest. So you need to know who you are. You need to know what you want, and believe that it's going to happen. I think that's my recipe. I'm trying it. I'm putting myself in the middle of it. So that's what I wanted to say about the law of attraction.
Oh, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you.
Beautiful, Maria. Thank you.
Thank you.
Totally agree with you with that. And you are proof of that, in your journey. We've witnessed it step by step, and I'm very proud of you, seeing you come so far. Yeah, and we are all proof of it. Everyone here that's been around has been proof of how we've evolved, even though we can't see it, because society generally checks on how our evolution has been based on how much money we've made, or what position in the job that we've got, or how many children we have, or whatever it is, and that's one way of measuring our growth. But then it could be that the person just got very sick and recovered from an illness, or a person just faced a life threatening situation, or went through a terrible breakup, or financial ruin, or losing a loved one, or losing a best friend, or breaking his leg. These are also signs of tremendous growth. I think that's something that people tend to discard as to how well people are doing. The fact that you show up again and again is, again, proof of the law of attraction, because there is something that was created in you that wanted something in the world, and then life got in the way. And then you got the courage, or you got the trust. I like that difference in the word. And you said, no, I can't be here anymore. This is not who I am. I'm up there. There is this disconnect. And it was so vivid today. My wife said she had a dream this morning, and dreams are a big part of the law of attraction as well. And she said she could see herself so ideally in the mirror, in like she was witnessing her own self, and she could see her face, she could see her body, she could see her personality. And I said, did you like what you saw in yourself? And she said, I really like that. And I think for a lot of us, we have an impression of what we are, this ideal self. And all the time, we may struggle and say, no, I'm upset about that. I don't like the way this is, because there is this ideal self that has been created in us at some point. I don't know where. But the whole journey has been to try to say, that's where I'm meant to be. So when you say, I don't like the way I look, I don't like the way I talk, I don't like the way what I'm doing right now, it's all based on an ideal self, which you're trying to aspire to. So instead of giving that up, that thing that you're longing to be, the ideal self, however that may be, and for every one of you it's different, move towards that. Move towards that ideal self without resistance towards it. Yeah, if that comes across in your lives, in the ideal manifestation of that. So here's one very, very important point for you. Why we fail and why we give up so easily in what we're trying to do is because we're no longer children. Children have something that we no longer have. They don't have doubt. They don't have insecurities. They don't have the world telling them that they can't have what they want. They still dream. So what we need to do as adults is to take on a very either you all become children, we all become children and laugh and giggle all the time and take life seriously, which is not going to happen, right? As much as you'd like to say, you know what, let's just chill out and enjoy ourselves, when the landlord's calling up, or the doctor calls, or whoever those people you least like to hear from. No offense to doctors. I don't think we got people that are doctors in one way or the other. Yes, Anissa. Anissa, did you put up your hand? Your mic's
Yes,
not
I'm
loud
off
again.
mute. I'm off mute.
Yeah, go for it.
So I like what you said there in terms of children. And so I listen, Rashad, I love words and language, and so I connect to that. And so when I listen to the word trust, I connect surrender to that. When I listen to what you say, Rashad, in terms of being that kid, it's not so much evolving and manifesting something new, but it's almost returning home to yourself, to your divinity, to that essence, that wonderment as a child. So I quite like that being an art form, so to speak, about manifesting as a law of attraction way of doing things. It's just reconnecting to your soul essence, your divinity.
Thank you for that, Anissa, and welcome to some of the other people that have joined a bit late. Anna Karin, welcome, Anna Karin.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
welcome, welcome, Helene.
Good to
Ah,
see
hi.
you.
Where are you, Anna Karin? Where in the world
In
are you?
Italy,
Ah, you
in
read a
northern
lot of
Italy.
books
I'm
there.
so sorry I was late. I came from a
That's okay.
travel. I was rallying home.
No problem. It's a pleasure
Yeah,
to meet you, and thank you for your support on the posts. And yeah, I think we resonate a lot on the same type of thing as well. So
we
welcome.
do.
We're honored to have you here. And
Good to see you.
Helene Sheffield, welcome as well to you. So so regarding what I was saying is that we can't become children again, but what we can do is we can remind ourselves that we can dream, that we can live from our hearts, and that doesn't happen individually. That happens collectively. And if you look at, that's the birth of religious movements, spiritual movements, social groups, social dynamics, and what we're doing here as well with the Zen Coach group. We're simply reminding of ourselves of the ideal version of how we can live, because our minds, when we're alone, sabotages us in many ways, and then we follow our own little discourses, and we can get quite negative, or we can actually get very positive in our delusions as well, believing that we know better and that we know everybody else doesn't know what they're talking about, and we got the right books and we got the right way, which is fine as long as it leads to your happiness. Do whatever it takes. And I think that's why so many adults have got groupings, tribes and communities and all the rest of it. People that want to aspire to greatness uh, find it a lot easier to do it company than it is to do it alone. This is my lesson the hard way through life, is that together you can do it easier, and alone you're going to find it more difficult. So in the sense of manifesting, Anissa was part of the group that we did this course, which is so much fun, a law of attraction masterclass, a while ago, and just getting that interaction with people and reminding us every day, hey, how do you feel, and keeping that vibration up really helps with the manifesting. So anyone in your life that shares your frequency is very important. Many of us go home and our spouses, our children, or our bosses don't share the the belief that we should manifest on a high plane, or keep our vibes up, if you want to call it that, which is perfectly fine, by the way. I don't believe in false positivity. So a grouping is very useful and very powerful for doing all these types of things. And that's so, other than theoretical knowledge, that's the practical implementation, is to have someone or some people in your life that share your vision and your goal and assist you. And that's what LinkedIn has done for so many of us, is brought together people that share a common vision and a common goal or a common frequency. So let's go through this. I just want to show you the 7 laws, and then we can discuss it. We're not going to be able to cover everything in one sitting, because it's a vast topic, and I'll talk about whatever whatever the majority is interested in, because for me, I like to delve into all sorts of angles. So here's the 7 laws. We have mentalism, correspondence. So let's just go through it quickly. Mentalism, the principle is all is mind. The universe is mental. This is so big that requires 3 hours to explain this, but we're going to go through it as quick as possible. That all is mind. What you see and what you perceive and what you think and what you know is all in the mind. The universe, not you, the universe is mental. In other words, the universe is in your mind. And I always ask this question, that if you weren't here today, would the universe exist? And if you ponder that for a second, you don't know the answer. You cannot know the answer. So here's the question. If you were not here in your mind, would the universe exist? Keep that in mind. And then the law of correspondence. So, or the principle of correspondence, as above, so below, as below, so above, and which is this interrelatedness and interconnectedness. And if you've read my book, you'll see me talking a lot about that, and I explain that in Indra's Net of Jewels as well. Now, vibration is where is encapsulated everything to do with the law of attraction, about vibration, about movement, everything. Even now, quantum physics has proven that the table and chair that we're on is also vibrating, but at a frequency faster than our eyes can or our brains can perceive and feed that back to us. So that's the principle of vibration. And you're going to see how they all come together and why it's so powerful. And the principle of polarity. This is, to me, fantastic and very important. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Opposites are identical in nature and different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. Polarity is a very, very big one and very powerful. The principle of gender, also very, very important to understand. In the opposites, in the gender, as in the male and female, and that includes in each individual person contains male and female within themselves as well. The principle of rhythm is super powerful. So everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. So the pendulum swings and manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. And then lastly, the principle of cause and effect, which many of you know about. Every cause has an effect. Every effect has a cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. So when they say many planes of causation in your current life, you may not see how one thing that related to what you did yesterday is related to something else, but also on different planes, meaning on the spiritual planes, on the mental planes, on the emotional planes, on the energetic planes. There are many planes of existence that we inhabit continuously and concurrently rather than individually. So that's important to understand as well. Just want to show you this one other. Yes, Chaya, go ahead.
Yeah, so I had a question. So the seven laws, do they belong to a certain, what laws are they? Are they part of law of attraction or
The Hermetic principles? What we're talking about here is the 7 principles of the Hermetic principles. 7 Hermetic principles.
Hermetic principles. Got it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. No problem. So I just want to share the little screen with you, and then we'll get, because I've covered a lot, but we're going to then talk a bit more about it in a second. So you can see this graph here and this chart here. You can see how everything is this pendulum and this magnetic, and where you have the negative energy on the one side and the positive energy on the other side. So when we encounter something negative, and this is also very important, the inhalation and the exhalation, right? So you have expansion, you have contraction. You see, the spiritual masters of all traditions, especially with the with the Eastern traditions and with the even with the Christian traditions, the Muslim, the Jewish traditions, understanding the spiritual significance of everything. Whenever you're in a state of contraction, then what follows that is a state of expansion. And if there's expansion, then what follows that is contraction. What most humans want to live on is one side of the pendulum. What they want is happiness and joy and lots of money and lots of love and lots of happiness, but they don't want to take on the other side of the pendulum, which it must swing by. This pendulum has to swing in that particular way. That's very important for you to understand, as in birth and death. It comes in on the one end and then it goes out the other. There cannot be this. So part of the Hermetic principles is understanding the nature of existence and the nature of what you are and the nature of people. Is that same person that's going to be nice to you one day is going to end up stabbing you in the back. And that's perfectly fine. And the same person, the same dog that you may love one day would end up dying one day, right? And so we have great affinity for the joyous occasions, and we have great resistance to the painful occasion. But the whole point of becoming hermetic in your understanding, or becoming a person grounded in the essence of reality, is accepting the duality of life, the pain and the pleasure, the love and the hate. And that gives you the reason why you do that is because it becomes a lot more joyful existence rather than saying, oh my God, I'm so sad because I've got this and I don't have that. That's a limited point of view, and that's okay. But another point of view say, ah, well, that's what happens. So when you have, so the Sufis say, when there's outward contraction, there's inner expansion, and when there's inner expansion, there's outward contraction. Remaining in space of equanimity, so always looking at understanding that when something is contracting inwardly, then something's expanding outwardly. And the Taoist masters knew this as well. So I'm just giving you a broad overview of this, because for me, say for instance, you sit and you constantly think, you know what, I want to make, I want to get that job, I want to find that spouse, I want to find a partner, and all your energy is towards that, and somehow it doesn't work out, and you become despondent about that and say, well, this attraction thing doesn't work for me, it's not going to work for me. And this is giving you the broader category of why it's not supposed to have worked for you right now. Part of anything that you're manifesting, or anything that this man that I've met recently, is who's a healer, a spiritual healer and physical healer. He says, I have to know where I am before I decide where I want to go. And I said, that's so profound. Because we're all wanting to say, I want to be this, and I want to get away from this, and I want to do this. But nobody actually knows where they are. Nobody wants to ask. That's the most difficult question, of recognizing where you are at. Because even the question is so vague. What do you mean, where am I at? Where am I, here at home or at work? Or, but that's the understanding the pendulum. Where are you on the pendulum? Where are you on the pain side? Where are you emotionally? Yeah, it must swing both ways, Ashif. Exactly. Understanding that and integrating that's really important. So remember, there's also, everything is in these planes, in these structures, in these laws, and it's not just a flat structure. For instance, if we look at the progress of humanity, I was talking to a friend of mine, another teacher of mine, you could say, and he was saying how, he says, right now your journey is into your body. So I'm on the level of connecting with my body inwardly, with whatever that entails. And there was a phase where I was connecting with myself on a chemical level. Now the chemical level is explained as social interaction, because what's happening in the social environment is a chemical exchange. So some people would be interacting on a personal level, in other words, improving their condition in their mind. So mental exertion, more qualifications, more job, more exertion mentally. Then we have the spiritual plane. And at the spiritual level, I'm battling within myself to find the demons in myself, to find the divine within myself. And that's another plane of existence. Other people dealing with pain and dealing with anxiety and dealing with discomfort within their bodies are then dealing with their connecting through sensation, your internal vibration. Yeah. You like those summaries. It's good. Yeah. So yeah, it's all these different planes of existence. Now, where are you in this plane of existence within yourself? You've got to have to be able to take a snapshot. And that requires you to become very still inside. Otherwise, you're just in your mind. This is all the process of evolution and growth. So we will cover in more detail each particular law, and most people will just be interested in the law of attraction and how to manifest the things that we want in our lives, which is fine, and we can cover that as well. So any questions that you've got? Have you understood that? Is there any feedback so far regarding the 7 laws that I spoke about? If you can remember them, maybe I'll share it again with you, just so that we don't go over things too quickly.
I want to come back to what Maria said, because I think I have a very good example. Because when I left my narcissistic partner, I believed that I had to help others to overcome this and heal. And the more I the more I got involved in that, I attracted narcissists. Yes, they were they were all over the place. They were on every social media account I was on. And Ashfaq actually said to me, Andrea, you are attracting them. And I said, no way, I'm not attracting them. The only thing I want is getting rid of those. But because
No.
I was still dealing with it, there was still a bit of this victim vibration within me. And that's why I attracted them. And as soon as I thought, I am done with this low energy, I don't want to I want to help people, but I don't want to necessarily help those men and women who are dealing with narcissists. And that's when when life got better for me. Yeah.
That's so powerful, Andrea. So powerful. And people take so long to arrive at that understanding
Mm.
that, in fact, the thing that they're trying to help people with is the thing that they're still dealing with within themselves.
Hmm.
And the thing that they think they want is the thing they shouldn't have. And that's so powerful. Were you adding on to that? Carry on if I cut you off.
No, no, no. That's I think
Yeah.
everybody understood because it's that's I mentioned already. It is the universe gives you who you are and not what you want, and you need to change and you need to come and live from your heart and have this understanding, the right vibration, and otherwise it won't work. You will always it's the same as your inner voice will guide you towards the bad side of people, or to bad people, well, let's put between brackets, and you will have the you listen to the devil, let's put it that way. Can I
Yeah.
does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, it makes perfect sense. So that's just to recap what Andrea is saying, is that sometimes we may say we want to attract that, or we don't want that anymore, and then you find out that that's precisely what you're attracting, more of that, and that's something for you to get. And Maria mentioned it, Andrea mentioned it, and I mentioned it at the beginning, is that that's why the Hermetic principles come in so significantly. Because otherwise, people are there beating themselves over, hitting doing their affirmations and doing their morning routines, which are all very useful, and priming your day, all very, very powerful things. But you must understand the opposite nature to add on to that. So it's an entirely, you could say, an upgrade. Doesn't mean you stop doing it and now you have an upgrade, because now you have another level of awareness. And for me, it's just opening more chambers of awareness and lenses of understanding. So in the practical terms, what a few of you have said is that you have to become, you have to assume the identity of the person that you want to become. So you have to become that person now. Whatever that person is, you have to assume that identity in every particular facet. Also, how would they think, how they would interact, how they would engage, and also remember your thoughts. Chaya, I got your memo. The hands up. I'll come back to you. How you think now is a reflection of what you see around you. So you may say, "Oh well, I can't stand the way this thing is. I need that." But you see, if you're assuming the identity of that, then the thoughts of that person would no longer be, oh, I can't stand where I am right now. It's going to be saying, I love where I am right now. I can't believe how beautiful life is, even though I have challenges. Look how amazing it is. So now that identity is calling you, right? It's calling you. Then you change the dialogue by assuming the new identity. And this is not new knowledge. This is what children do. The proof is, when you have, I've got 4 daughters, so I've played a lot of tea games with them, so having tea. So they would say, come sit down, daddy, let's have a tea together. And they would pour the tea in, and then they would give me some tea in a little saucer, tiny little saucer. And I would just sit there, and if I don't make like I'm actually drinking it, they get really angry. They're watching me, I'm like, okay, let's just get it over with. Yeah, so nice. And then they're like, no, 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 come back here, you haven't drunk your tea. So then you play the game, and you're like, Oh, and then the more you exaggerate, oh, this is the best tea. They laugh. They finally, but they're teaching me. Actually, that's what they're doing. The kids are saying, "Come here, let me show you what it's like and how to use the law of attraction to manifesting." We think I'm going to go back to crunching the books and paying the bills and producing another invoice because I'm going to do grown-up things. In fact, you're wasting your time with that kind of stuff. You sit here, have a dream, have a drink, have some tea, and the more real you can make that tea, you see, because now you're assuming the identity of the one that's already drinking the tea. So the child is telling you, assume the identity of the person who's already achieved the things that they want. How would they talk? How would they interact? What would that taste like? And the more you can do that, and children play this game all the time. I don't know, you remember when you were daydreaming and you're sitting there going, oh, you just have this vision in your mind. And part of the problem is we have these devices that don't allow us to dream and imagine because we let YouTube do our dreaming for us, which is very, very shortcutting the process, right? Chaya, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add to what Andrea said about the vibration, and what I wanted to add was it's really important to hold the vibration. Once you raise your vibration, people around you, especially the close ones, if they're not at your level, they might drag you and they want to interact with you at a lower vibration. So holding your high vibration is key, and it is work. I have had to discontinue my relationship with close people just so that I could hold my vibration. I'm holding it and saying I will interact with you only at that high vibration, and so it's working. I am not participating in any low vibration activities or conversations. So I just wanted to add that.
Andrea? Is it in response to Chaya?
Yeah, I wanted to respond
Thank you, Chaya.
because recently I had an experience too. Where I fell in love. Huh? I actually did. It did happen. I fell in love, and
Congratulations.
it's I'm flashing.
Welcome, Angelo. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So it's I got this my brother-in-law. He said he made a comment because I was like a bit like a teenager, and I was in all this high butterfly thingies, and so what at a point he said to me, wow, we cannot all be like a 14-year-old. And this is exactly what you're saying. These people not everybody surrounding you is in the same energy as you are. And for me, two things. One thing is you only jealous because I can and you can. And the other one was is thinking, well, it was the best compliment I could get, to be honest. And for him, not being on the same level was okay for me. It's not sometimes we cannot remove family members easily. Huh? That's one thing.
Yeah.
I don't know where
So-
you are. Are you
so-
still there? Because I can't say. Oh yeah, you're back.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's you can't just. But I was saying, Shaya, if you have a relationship or you start a relationship with someone, and the vibration is not the same, then it's best not to go on. Yourself down again.
Yeah. So you can just not engage at those conversations, but you don't have to discontinue the relationship. But don't engage in that.
we're getting like a double feedback here.
Getting
Angelo, your mic is on and you're feeding it back. But welcome, Angelo. I'm just gonna mute him. Yeah, because otherwise he's I think he's got his speaker on or something like it's feeding back into it. Yeah, so good points, Chaya and Andrea. Was also very important to note, and it should never be taken lightly, is that you see, you were on the same vibration as your partner, and those people that you now trying to raise above, you were that person. So the one aspect is I don't want to get their negative energy to get me down, but also it's also an exercise in compassion and saying that's who I was. Now, the reason why we don't want to be around them is because they remind of who we are, because that's who we are. You see, so when we and the reason why we can't be around them is because we're weak. It's not because we're strong. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's not something to boast about because we're weak. We want to now transcend. We don't want to live like this anymore. We want to transcend our energy, and if we're around these people, they're going to bring us down. So in that time, because we're still vulnerable and weak, while we're trying to form a new identity and walk into these new shoes, that energy brings us down and reminds us of who we are, not who we want to be. So at the same time, those people around us, uh, there has to be compassion and space created for them, and of course, give them the benefit of the doubt. But some people are energy vampires, and that's why we're not strong enough yet. It's not that we are, laughing and celebrating life while the rest of them are miserable fucks, right? A lot of people, I'd be like, "You're miserable fuck. Look at you. You're never going to get anywhere in your life. You'll never be anyone." And that can get, the spiritual warriors become quite uh, self-righteous, and pious. So that's important not to do that as well. Others we come across as quite arrogant, and it sabotages us later on because then they have it out for us to see us come down as well. You see, because you avoid them. "Yeah, I hate you. You're a vampire," and all the rest of it. And then you go and you really try to change yourself and have a high frequency, and then you have a terrible day and a terrible time, which happens to us all. And they're just waiting to go. "You see, I told you," right? And they're going to nail it in, right? You've seen this over and over again. We've played this tape over and over again. So that's why it's important for you to say, "Listen, I love you. I respect you. You're doing great things, and I respect where you're at. I'm not saying you should be where I'm at." There's that great courtesy and also compassion for where they're at. Because when they see that, I've seen this because I do so much couples work over and over again. Even though I'm not a couples coach, that's pretty much all I do all the time. Interrelationship problems, all relationship problems, is that the other person looks at them and go, "Wow, I'd like to do what you're doing," because there's such a space and compassion towards that person instead of this great resistance. So that's something to just add on to the great points that you made there as well. Thank you, Ashif, for all the little lines coming through there on your post as well. So conflict with oneself and with others, exactly. And here we're here to evolve, and we do it very compassionately and a lot of kindness and also grown upness, right, to other people's plight and other people's situation, and also to look into the mirror and recognize that what you're seeing in the other is yourself in every way. And that's a huge part of my book, is that recognition of selfness. So creating the frequency of what you want to be has to be done in this very robust way and a very integrative way rather than an eliminatory kind of way, because a lot of the American self-help vibe kind of, and I'm using American in the Western context, right? Yeah, I know. I can't seem to. He's not saying anything. His
Oh
voice is
yeah,
on there.
can you hear me?
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. Yes,
I'm
Angela.
sorry. Yeah, I didn't.
No,
I
that's
didn't
cool.
know.
That's cool.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I actually came late to the program. I had another appointment, but I think it's a fascinating talk so far. What I've heard. I was wondering if you. I had a question about if you read the book "Thoughts Are Things."
Thoughts aren't things, or thoughts are things?
Thoughts are things. Yes.
No, but it makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
that's
haven't read it.
actually that's an old book. It came from some kind of White Lotus society. It was basically the law of attraction before this actually was a big thing. It talked about how your thoughts are actual tangible entities. They're actually things that you can actually measure. Like when you go into a room and you get a sense of something's wrong or something's elated, an emotional charged environment, you can feel these things because these thought waves are actually a tangible matter, and it's a fascinating book. It talks about how, the light was there before we actually tapped into the technology of a light bulb, but the light was always there. So there's things
Fascinating.
around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
looking. Yeah, before you carry on, Apprentice Mulford, Thoughts of Things, 1898, a very old book. I'm sure this is the one you're talking about, right?
I believe so. What was that again? The title? I mean
Uh, Apprentice Mulford, Thoughts of Things. Yeah, Apprentice
yes, yes,
Mulford.
that's
First
right.
published 1908. Yeah, interesting.
Yes.
Yeah,
It was
cool.
by the
Yeah,
White Lotus. Yeah, the White Lotus Society, I think it was a fraternity or something.
right, right. Yeah. So,
Some
so
yeah.
what's the premise of it? That all that thoughts are things.
Yes, that you're by the practice of really paying attention to your thoughts,
Yeah,
they could manifest your reality based on your workings with that understanding of that science. The book goes in. It's a very small book. It's not a very big book either, and it's
yeah. It says
power.
99 pages. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very
Uh,
small book, but it's very full with a lot
oh,
of powerful ideations. And none of them are dangerous or anything that's like make you get into some kind of cult thinking or anything. But it's very practical
wow.
scientific knowledge that could be used to help you use your mind in a way that's going to be you know conducive to you bringing about reality into your life. It's
Right.
I just thought it's something I mentioned because I came into the program, but what I heard so far was very interesting.
Cool. Thank you, Angelo. They're very useful. In fact, it's the first principle of the Hermetic Principles we've been discussing, which is all is mind, and
Hmm.
from that we're going to be building onto it. So it's very appropriate. Regarding thoughts, we have to note that we can't choose thoughts. We can't. So it's very important for you to understand because a lot of people, when they first hear this, they give themselves a hard time sitting there going, oh my God, why am I thinking such negative things? Why can't I change my thoughts? Why can't I think more positively? And that is not knowing the nature of mind. And so that's something that we can, thoughts are things leading their own life if we are not aware. Yeah, in a way, but I think it's important to get that in the seven principles rather than just the one. So all is mind, but there's also these things that are totally outside of our control that are happening around us, yet we can perceive them. So it's a sort of take action, but at the same time, allow and accept how life is unfolding as well. So a bit of pushing and a bit of pulling, a bit of,
Like a
because otherwise,
balance.
yeah, balance. Otherwise, you end up creating too much resistance and too much pressure. And you think that you're in a science laboratory going, oh, if I just add a bit of this, then puff, my $1 million will come up, or the magical thing. Or if it doesn't appear, you're there going, oh my God, I knew my thoughts were bad. I need to go see a thought counselor or something like that, which is
Right, right.
can lead to neurosis. But it's absolutely correct. And so I would say to start with, in order to, we know we can't control our thoughts, but what we can do is control or have some semblance of control of the ideal self that we want to be. So the ideal version of what we want to be, what that would feel like, and how you would embody that. The most
Yeah,
important thing that
yeah.
go ahead, Angelo.
Visualization. You mean like visualization?
Yeah, visualization, not
Yeah.
just visual, but sensories of every kind of senses, right? So it's, in other words, what kind of thoughts would they think? What kind of emotions would they feel? Of course, what kind of things would they be doing? So the visual side, the sound, who you'd be hanging around with, and what kind of thoughts you would have more on the line of thoughts as well.
I see.
So, and also to recognize in all spiritual teachings, which is not covered in the modern day self-help books, is that our essential natures, everything that we're talking about is a construction on top of our essential natures. Mind made constructs, but our essential nature is free of construct. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We're not human
Yes.
beings having a spiritual experience. Our spirituality or our soul or our essential natures are without form. They're formless. They're shapeless. This is what Bruce Lee talks about as well. Bruce Lee. That's important to understand that all of these are just what the Indians talk about is Maya. It's all an illusion. It's a real illusion because if I step on somebody's toe, they're going to get hurt. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's all an illusion. Don't worry about it." And said, "Yeah, well, let me come over there and kick you in the balls and see if that was illusionary or not. It's gonna hurt. Or if someone hurts you in a relationship, it hurts. In some way, it hurts. Where it hurts, we don't know. But so all of it is important to sort of get perspective. For me, I want to form with you over the next couple of times or sessions is a very broad, wide schematic of your life rather than a very narrow minded view, if that's something that interests you. So we've come to our hour complete already when we're having so much fun. Is there any questions that you've got, Maria? Any other reflections that you have? No. Anyone else would like to add on anything? We haven't got into the practical steps, but all of that is very much available on there, and we will cover that as well. And the idea is to form a group by the end of this, if there is traction, where we do something like we did with the 21-day challenge. We got everybody together in a group, confirming everyone, and each one sort of reminding each other, which is something that may lead to that later on or not. So yeah, thank you for coming. It's nice to see some new faces and some old faces. And I don't mean just in age, Ronald. I mean old faces, like the people that we've seen before. Yeah, I wish you a very exciting week ahead and something to try out. I always say the proof is in the pudding. So if you wake up in the morning saying, "I wonder what miracles and magic await me today," it's a line that I teach all people that work with me, right? I wonder what miracles and magic await me today. And then you just have that in the frame of mind going, just one day. I just tell people, just do it for one day. Have that frame of reference and go look for what miracles and magic await you. And by some magic and by some miracle, you'd be like, oh, where did that come from? And then you start getting to, because a lot of people go, oh, it's all pie in the sky. It's bullshit. There's no such thing. It's all airy fairy. Fine. No problem. I like skeptics, by the way. I like skeptics better than I like people that are not grounded entirely. So, but try it out. And then you would say, this is actually very practical. As a scientific person, how is it that when I'm looking for magic and mystery and wonder and intrigue, I'm finding more of this? And then if you'd like to, I don't recommend, but if you'd like to and say, I wonder what shit's going to fall on my table today, which is what we do by default, by the way, and notice how much comes up. You see, many of us do this unconsciously. Is what we actually, our prayer for the day is that,
Yeah.
right? Without
Right.
us realizing it. So,
Right.
but now when I say it, people are like, oh, how could you say that? But this is what you're doing. Like
Right.
Eckhart Tolle says, if you're not practicing presence, then by default, you're practicing absence. That means you're
Right.
not present at all, right?
Marcus Aurelius, actually, the emperor, the Roman
Yeah.
emperor, Marcus Aurelius,
Of
he
course.
actually, in his meditations, it talks about how he used to think of, well, today is a good day. You're waking up, you're accepting the day, you're what's going on. And then he would also think about the things that could go wrong, too, and prepare his mind for things that could happen out of the way during the day, too. So in a way, he
Yeah,
was
that's
practicing Hermetic. Yeah, he was
yeah.
practicing Hermetic
Yeah,
philosophy, too.
right, and that's pragmatist. That's very good point. Is that the Stoics had a very realistic view? Is that yes, shit may hit the fan today, but also some great benefits may come my way as well. It's not being unrealistic. So yeah, so for me, in the beginning, Stoicism, especially Marcus Aurelius and the others as well, Seneca, an excellent stepping stone to the development and fulfillment
Yes.
of life's ambitions. And yeah, like Angelo said, it's the broader understanding. However, in context, if you can just isolate each emotions for a day, you start understanding from the automatic patterns. So imagine one day, or just spend an hour in the alternative states, like we spoke about the Hermetic principles as well, in the pendulum swings from one side to the other. So spend an hour
Reciprocity, yeah.
in, yeah, sort of, but spend an hour in a moment of excitement and wonder for the mystery of the day, and see what thoughts and feelings and what things outside
Yes.
come towards you, and then spend an hour in negativity on purpose. This thing we hate doing is what we are doing. So I'm saying consciously make an effort and say, I'm going to spend an hour in absolute negativity. and watch how that feels, because that's what you're ultimately doing. But until you don't do it, you're going to be like, no, 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 I'm always positive and I'm always zen and I'm always looking for good things. You're not. But just go have a look, right? Maybe you are. I don't know. Maybe you are. Denise, why are you
Yeah.
so quiet, Denise?
Oh, I'm just thinking a lot.
Okay. And
You
you're
know,
also dealing with not being too well.
yeah, like, I remember when I moved to Toronto like a long time ago, and I came here with all these, I set out what I wanted to do and I did everything I wanted to do. And it's amazing how the people that I met, like I used to teach aerobics, and in my classes I met a girl that I needed to, that came to me, and I got to do what I wanted to do, and one thing led to another, and now I'm at this stage of my life and I'm like, okay, now what's next? So I'm kind of like a little bit lost about what's next.
That's a good place to be, actually, rather than in a place of, oh my God, I've never achieved anything. So you're in a good place to be. So you've done a lot and used that momentum to do the things that your heart ultimately wants. So yeah, that's a good place to be. I remember
Yeah.
one of my mentors telling me that's a good problem to have. I would say the same to you. It's a good problem. It's not a bad problem. What you
Okay.
do next is going to be beautiful. It's going to be fun. It's going to be inspiring. If it's not, then you're wasting valuable time, right?
Right. Well, that's why I feel like I'm just kind of like coasting right now and deciding what route I need to go next.
Play the tea game. Get some tea. Sip on some artificial tea that's not really there, and feel where that goes. Let the
Right.
inspiration come from that. When I say artificial tea, imagining, like creativity and imagination is very good.
Right. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else want
Right.
to share their thoughts, feelings before we wind up, because we over the time. Ashif, you turned your camera on. Anything you want to say, Ashif?
No, actually, I just wanted to say thank you for a wonderful session. And my battery was low, so
Ah,
but great insight, and I look forward to building on it. Thank you.
and one day maybe we'll all meet in person somewhere. Who knows if we've always been
Absolutely,
talking about that, but let's see. Maybe we'll do it somewhere.
absolutely. As you say, Africa never leaves you.
That's true. This is true. This is true. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend. I'll post the updates of the next event we'll be having.
Thank you. Thank you.
You.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Yes,
Welcome.
Bye.
See
Rashad.
you, Otto.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
Bye,
much.
Otto. Bye, Ronald.
Have a
Bye-bye,
wonderful
Ronald.
week. Goodbye,
Love you,
Otto. Talk
Ronald.
to you. Love you
Bye-bye.
too, my
Bye,
brother.
Love
everyone
you.
else. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Love you
Bye.
all, and thank you too. And thank you, Otto,
Bye.
Rashad.
Thank
Thank
you. Bye.
you, Richard. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
It was wonderful, like
Yes,
always.
indeed.
Yes.
Good to
Thank
see you.
you.
Feeling so enriched.
Yes,
Love you,
indeed.
Ronald.
Love you
Bye-bye.
too, Otto.
Love you, my brother.
Love you too, my brother. And David and Yaya.
Yes, thank you. They stay home in the village. It's New Year here. They're celebrating New Year here.
Well, congratulations and
Yeah,
enjoy.
thank you. Thank you. I live like a monk for 3 days. I love it.
It shows in your smile.
Thank
God
you.
bless you, my brother. Love you
Love you, my
too.
brother. Stay
Love
safe.
you, my brother. You stay safe also.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye. Love you so
Bye
much.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Love you. Goodbye.
Love you
Love
too.
you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. You're my real brother.
And you,
I know.
my real brother
No,
too,
I
Otto.
never had one. I find my real brother here in Cambodia, and you. Really, 2 brothers I have. And
We've
they
waited this long.
yes. Yeah.
It's worth waiting for.
That was worth waiting for such a guy like you, Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Take
bye.
care. See you soon. Love you.
See you soon. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.